Kakalosh Boker Tov. We're going to deal with today, is it permitted to take a haircut after Chatzot Hayom al Pi Kabbalah? Now, where does this start exactly? Rav Chaim Vital brings down in Shara Mitzvot that the Arizal HaKadosh was noheg not to take haircuts after Chatzot Hayom, once it's already going to be mincha Gdolah. And even on Erev Shabbat, he was careful in this. The Rav Chida brings this down in the name of Mari Tzemach, also the same thing. And even on Erev Shabbat, the Negid Mitzvah also. Now the Sefer Chemdat Yamim comes and he says, what's the reason of the Arizal HaKadosh? Which means that it all depends what's the reasoning, depends whether we're allowed to or not. So he brings down here in the Sefer Chemdat Yamim, the reason of the Arizal HaKadosh is that after Chatzot, it's Itgabrut Adinim, right? As the Zohar HaKadosh brings down, that once it starts becoming a time of justice, so therefore, since there's going to be din, and again, when you're taking a haircut, you're removing din, right? That's why the Nazir has to bring a korban afterwards. Why? Because he was actually bringing upon himself din. The hair is din. That's why if you realize, a lot of the big rabbis, they come and they try to take very short haircuts, right? The beard, they leave it longer, right? Why? Because the beard is the Yugim Midot Rachamim. We actually say this every single tashlich. For those that pay attention what we're saying, in tashlich we speak about that every single point of the beard, there's 13 different points, which is the Yugim Midot Rachamim, which are in the beard. So the beard is Rachamim. The hair is Midat Adin. So therefore, when you take off the hair, when you're removing the hair, you're removing the dinim. And that's why we know that the men, they grow the beards and they have short hair, right? They're not supposed to have long hair. And the women, the exact opposite, they have long hair. So now here it says, what happens now is that when a person takes a haircut, it's going to be removing the dinim. So he comes and he says, now, and therefore he says, the reason of the Arizal HaKadosh has nothing to do with the time of the mincha, if he already said mincha, or didn't say mincha like the Mishnah. That's also brought down the Rav Chaim Falache, the same thing because of Itkabrut Adinim, and therefore you shouldn't take a haircut at nighttime, or any day after Chatzot, and that's what's brought down in some of the Mekubalim, as they brought down. This is actually brought down in some of the Mekubalim, which is Rav Chaim Falache. You've got in his different Sefarim, and also from the Chesel Alafim Rav Eliezer Papo. The Ben Ish Chai does bring down that even though the Ikar is like the Magen Avraham, that it is permitted, especially nowadays if you have a few different types of scissors, he does say that Erev Shamayim should be machmir and not to take a haircut after Chatzot, even if he already prayed mincha, because al pi Kabbalah. Now, so it sounds until here that should be prohibited, which means that al pi Kabbalah, once it's after Chatzot, that's it. Even if you prayed mincha, didn't pray mincha, Erev Shabbat, not Erev Shabbat, nighttime, you already prayed mincha and arvit. The same thing, you shouldn't do it. However, though here, Rav David Yosef comes and he brings down also from his father, but he comes and he says as follows. There's a sefer called Mishchad Ruvata that he comes and he says, from the words of Rav Chaim Vital, you cannot bring any proof whatsoever that you could not take a haircut after Chatzot. He says, why? He says, they are looking upon it that it's something Kabbalistic, which means they want to call it that it's Itgabrut Adinim, and then that's it. You cannot take haircuts anymore from Chatzot, basically until the next morning, where the morning is Rachamim, and then Chatzot is going to be it, or maybe after Chatzot Laila, where also the same concept of Rachamim starts taking into effect. However, though, he comes and he says that wasn't the real reason behind it. The reason of the Arizal HaKadosh is because of the Mishnah that we brought down, right, a few days ago, of that, or you're not allowed to take a haircut. Now the question is, the Mishnah says you're not allowed to take a haircut before mincha. What is the mincha? Is it mincha gedolah, mincha ktana? Now the Arizal HaKadosh, he used to be machmir always to pray, keep the bed chama. What does that mean? Always towards the shekiyah, as close as the shekiyah as possible. That's when he used to come and he used to pray mincha. So according to that, what happened is that since he would be choshesh to the shitot, that maybe it's already mincha gedolah, so right already from chatzot and onwards, he wouldn't take a haircut. Has nothing to do with kabluta dinim or not dinim, right? That's something more kabbalistic. He was choshesh for the Mishnah. If he suspected for the Mishnah, if the Mishnah says, do not take a haircut, don't take a haircut. I've got tons of time in the day until it gets to the time of mincha where I have to pray. Doesn't matter. He was choshesh for the Mishnah, and that was his psak. And then he says, who else learns like that? He says it's actually going to be whether it's the Magen Avraham, whether it's going to be the Aliyah Rabbah, whether it's Machzit Shekel, the Pri Megadim, Mishnah Brura, and so on and so forth. So because of that, this is also the Shub Minchat Elazar and Rav Vadi Yosef as well. So now if we're going to say that has nothing to do with Gibrut Dinim, if a person already prayed Mincha, right? Let's say he prayed Mincha Gedolah. So now there's Lechatchila, he could take a haircut whenever he wants. Nighttime, he could take a haircut with Lechatchila without any problem. So that's why here comes Rav David Yosef and he says, Mi'ikar Adin, you're allowed to take a haircut after Chatzot, according to the conditions that we already wrote about above, and especially all the more so if you already prayed Mincha. And even the ones that go after the Arizal HaKadosh, they could also be mekel to do this after they pray Mincha, and they could also take a haircut at nighttime after they prayed Arvit, because again, as we already explained, it depends on the reasoning. If you're going to learn that the reasoning is Itkablut Dinim, you cannot take a haircut at nighttime, you cannot take a haircut after Chatzot, even if you pray Mincha. However, if you learn the entire reasoning, it's just because of the problem of the Mincha. If you already prayed Mincha, then for sure you could already take a haircut, and the same halacha would apply at nighttime. And even if you didn't, you have al pi halacha all those the dinim that we already mentioned, that meikar adin, you're allowed to take haircuts as well.